Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining us. As teachers, we all feel that there is a need to activate prior knowledge to facilitate the understanding and constructions of new knowledge schemes for the students, making the learning process itself more meaningful. For this to happen, the teachers and students should prepare this learning moment in advance. The teachers can do it in the classroom or can use digital technology so that the students, in an informal environment, build their previous knowledge at their own pace and interest. In this sense, we raise the following question. How can an active methodology based on the concept of flipped classroom contribute to the pedagogical innovation in higher education? Questioning the way we teach, the resources and the strategies we select, and also the way we evaluate our students, leads us to the reflection about the future of school and its renewal. Within the scope of language learning for intercultural communication as a key to global citizenship, we highlight a humanist paradigm that sustains personal, emotional, and relational values. Taking into account the guiding principles of active methods, we are responding to specific needs and questions of foreign languages and cultures, creating an environment of motivation, autonomy, and commitment to the individual and peer learning. Bloom's taxonomy provided us with a valid and meaningful theoretical framework that led us to design and implement strategies with our higher education students. Glasser's pyramid was also important to our research as we advocate for strategies that allow our students to debate, to inquire, to interpret, practice, and apply knowledge, and even to teach other students. We based our work on the made by them to them approach that caters for a coherent organization of thought with sense and meaning for the students so they can have time and opportunities to strengthen the relationship with the studied content and develop their capacity for critical reflection, abstraction, and connection of meanings of creation. The touchstone of this approach is the concept of inverted classroom, as it promotes a shift towards a student-centered model, thus creating a more meaningful teaching and learning process, allowing a greater variety of strategies when it comes to dealing with content both inside and outside the classroom. We also see the inverted classroom as a moment for students to weigh in their weaknesses and strengths. This concept grants the teacher the opportunity to build a stronger bond with the students in the classroom because they are better prepared and more confident for the class. The achievement of students is also the achievement of the teacher. We are all benefiting from a good classroom environment. This is a case study of a qualitative nature that aimed at the understanding and description of pedagogical events and contexts. The data collection was carried out through direct and participatory observation, which was why the collected field notes were considered relevant. The information was analyzed and interpreted in the light of content analysis. We worked with 30 students, aged between 20 and 23, who participated in this study for one semester over a period of 60 hours of teaching and learning experience in the classroom. Given the specificity of the curricular unit and the target audience, young adults, the fieldwork was organized as a didactic unit around the theme in several face-to-face meetings. At the initial stage of this case study, students were given previous access to online information about the course objectives. At first, the students and the teacher negotiated the topics to be discussed under the theme Geography of France, Tourist Sites, having established individual points of connection and brainstormed ideas in order to develop their skills and knowledge while working outside the classroom context. Afterwards, students were grouped according to the region, tourist destination of their choice. This pragmatic process promoted French-speaking discourse in communicative exchanges and favored the cohesion of the work groups, creating a very meaningful setting as the language not only presents the view of the world, marked by the subjectivity of the speaker, but also his ability to discuss and to influence others, fundamental capabilities in today's society. Additionally, it was sent an email to the students sharing other resources and tasks that they could access outside the classroom. The second stage of the learning process, undoubtedly marked by the collaborative process, took place after the students gathered the information and resources. The groups discussed and analyzed the data in order to create a tool that gave proof of the knowledge acquired in accordance to the set objectives. The diversity of resources adopted and solutions presented by the students became evident, and this process showed us that there are no limits to the use of adequate tools for language development, as suggested and made by them to them. We could observe that outside the classroom, each student became increasingly committed to the group and worked hard to gather information and other relevant resources to address the topic. Every time the group returned to the classroom, it was evident that the mobilization of discursive language knowledge was fundamental for the transmission of collected information. Each group decided which learning product or resource they would like to design to support the development of more complex thinking skills based on important reflections and synthesis focusing on cultural theme of their choice. During the whole semester, the students' decisions were continuously communicated to the teacher, who then aimed at ensuring the diversity of pedagogical devices to be explored later on in the classroom. The teacher was also able to analyze each project, providing more precise indications for student guidance in order to enhance their individual and group performance. The active participation of students and their emotional involvement in the learning process allowed for the collaborative construction of knowledge and experience in the teaching and learning of French language and culture. The affective component has a great impact on the learning process. The third moment of the study consisted of the presentation of the students' final products, the discussion about the process, and the evaluation of the results on a more complex level. This reaffirms the fact that this approach effectively integrated the categories of the cognitive domain proposed by Bloom's taxonomy: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. During the process of building prior knowledge in the flipped classroom modality, it was observed that each student assumed responsibility for collecting information and resources relevant to group work and made an effort to respond to their interests. Whenever the group returned to the classroom, it was evident that the mobilization of discursive knowledge of the language was fundamental for the transmission of the information collected. In the categories of made by them to them approach and reflections of the teacher and students, it can be said that made by them to them activates previous knowledge, promotes increased research capabilities, it helps students to become more able to acquire proactive knowledge and know-how. It involves students in their learning, perceived as project work done productively and meaningfully without boring classes and the stress of testing. It raises interest in experiential intercultural learning involving real tasks. Made by them to them promotes personal and group efforts to achieve better results. This way of doing things has taken much further in the acquisition of knowledge and skills, one of our students said. Our students also stated that they felt that they had done a good job, that this approach was very useful in future professional contexts. Made by them to them creates an emotional bond in the learning process by engaging students, leading them to gain more knowledge of themselves and of others. One of our students even said that I felt truly committed and responsible for learning. We conclude that it is possible to design inverted classrooms for linguistic and intercultural learning by adapting activities and strategies to the age and language level of the students. This pedagogical option is based on approaches that are generally related to project pedagogy and task-based learning in a collaborative way, always supported by the use of technology. This approach activates previous knowledge, promotes the personalization of teaching through the individual discovery of the student in an informal context, the development of personal and social skills of others outside the school even, and encourages student participation. Digital skills are enhanced as students make use of applications, select content on the internet, and exchange information with their colleagues and the teachers, taking an active role as learners. Learning to learn is also part of the process as students become increasingly autonomous, ask questions and find answers, as well as new ways to solve problems. Our approach also promotes the mobilization of knowledge and the development of skills, as well as awareness of the entire training process and its future benefits. To finish this presentation, we would like to share with you some of our references for the present study. Thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions or would like to know more about our project, please do contact us.